15 seconds.
Ready for an on-time launch for the instantaneous
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power and liftoff of Crew 6. Go Dragon, go Falcon.
Now launching on Endeavour's fourth flight to the International Space Station. Vehicles pitching down range, 1.7 million pounds of thrust provided by the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Hearing good calls, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
We're now at T plus 34 seconds into the 6th rotational crew mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Stage 1 throttle down.
So there we heard the call out indicating that the first stage engines will begin to throttle down in preparation for max Q, which is the moment of maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will experience during flight.
Vehicle is supersonic.
That call out there indicating the vehicle's traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
Stage 1 throttle up.
All right, now that we're past max Q.
1 Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
That 1 Bravo indicator are different abort modes that are called that allow the ground teams and the crew to track about the position of the Falcon 9 and the Dragon as they make their way up the eastern seaboard. In the event of an abort, these different abort modes would indicate about the position where Dragon would land,
started.
as well as indicate what series of maneuvers Dragon would indicate. But so far, we're hearing good calls on the performance of the Falcon 9 on its ride uphill. 1 minute 53 seconds into flight.
We're about 30 seconds away from main engine cutoff, which will be followed quickly by stage separation and second engine start, which is the ignition of that MVAC engine on the second stage. Now about 10 seconds away from main engine cutoff.
Two Alpha.
Copy, 2
Stage
Alpha.
separation confirmed.
There you can see on your screen confirmation of stage separation as well as ignition of that second stage engine. Second stage is now carrying the Crew 6 astronauts to orbit. Beautiful view there on the left-hand side of your screen coming from the first stage, which, as you can see, is still gaining in altitude. It has not yet reached its apogee. A beautiful view of the Florida Space Coast there in the background.
Meanwhile, we're tracking good performance on that MVAC engine. On the screen to your right, we'll be hearing periodic performance calls about once every minute of the status of the trajectory of the second stage and the Crew 6 astronauts that are inside Crew Dragon Endeavour. We'll also be hearing call-outs, just like you heard just there, as we pass over the various ground stations along the ascent track.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
There's that performance call-out.
Dragon acknowledges nominal trajectory.
As for the first stage there on the left-hand side of your screen, that first stage still gaining in altitude, although that gain is slowing down. It will be making its way back down to Earth, landing, attempting a landing on our drone ship. Just read the instructions, which is located off the Florida coast by a couple hundred miles.
The MVAC engine on stage 2 burns for 6 minutes after second stage ignition. We'll continue to see this engine burn until about 8.5 minutes into today's flight.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
SpaceX Dragon, nominal trajectory.
Again, these performance calls happen once a minute. Flight teams continuing to track the Falcon 9 and its ascent. Everything's looking good so far. You'll also continue to hear those check-ins of the ground stations as we pass them.
At this point in time, we're roughly 2 minutes away from the next major event, which will be the entry burn for the first stage. We will relight 3 engines, 3 M1D engines on that first stage to help slow the vehicle down as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
We're approaching 200 kilometers in altitude. It's about 124 miles. Meanwhile, velocity,
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
good trajectory calls, about to pass 12,000 kilometers per hour.
SpaceX Dragon, nominal trajectory.
It's about 7,500 miles per hour.
Everything looking nominal for both first and second stages. Now coming up to T plus 6.5 minutes into flight.
Mostly what we're hearing now are the performance calls in the second stage. In about a minute is when we'll see a series of events in rapid succession. It's been a pretty good pace since second stage ignition. About less than a minute from now, we'll start to see
Dragon,
more action on the
SpaceX,
first stage.
Nominal trajectory.
SpaceX Dragon, nominal trajectory.
As Gary mentioned, those callouts occurring about once every minute. Now we're about 20 seconds away from the first stage entry burn. That burn will last about 30 seconds and help slow the vehicle down as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there you can see
Stage 2, FTS has safed.
on your screen that first stage entry burn has begun. That booster sees high drag, which actually scrubs roughly 70% of the velocity by the time that the landing burn begins. So about another 10 seconds of this entry burn. Again, 3 engines relit, the center and 2
Stage 1
radial
entry burn
engines.
shutdown.
And conclusion of that entry burn.
Meanwhile, good performance on the second stage. Since second stage ignition, we've been in a 2 alpha abort mode. The next abort modes will happen in rapid succession to Bravo, to Charlie, Delta,
Terminal
and Echo,
guidance.
each indicating different series of maneuvers in the event of an abort scenario. But as you've been hearing through the periodic checks, we're seeing good trajectory, good performance on the Dragon and Falcon 9. SECO, second stage engine cutoff, would be coming at 8 minutes 48 seconds. We're coming up on that event.
SpaceX Dragon, Shannon.
Stage
Shannon,
1
Copy,
transonic.
Shannon.
now off the coast of Shannon, Ireland. Standing by for SECO.
MVAC shutdown.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And there we heard the call out indicating that landing burn.
Dragon, SpaceX. We have a nominal orbit insertion.
Great news there for
SpaceX Dragon copies nominal orbital insertion.
great
Launch
news
escape system disarmed.
for Dragon Endeavour.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Attempting to land on our drone ship. Just read the instructions.
Stage 1 landing is
Recognize signal.
And there you can see on your screen, and also indicated by the cheers behind
Acquisition
me,
signal. Finland.
successful landing of this booster its first trip to space and therefore its first landing.
An eruption of applause here at SpaceX Mission Control. And of course, after second stage engine cutoff, you heard that call that the crew is in orbit. They're now in a coast phase, where the second stage remains idle for about 3 minutes before Dragon separates from the second stage. Meanwhile, you can see that first stage in the legs right on target. We're now getting views from the second stage. You can see this is one of the cameras that's pointing up into the trunk of Dragon. Of course, we're continuing to get views of the expansion nozzle at the end of the MVAC engine. The crew is in orbit. Falcon 9 has almost done its job. It completed its job with propelling the astronauts through the 6 minutes of the second stage, and of course, the more than 2.5 minutes of the first stage. Continuing in this coast period. We're heading to about the 12-minute mark after launch. So we're approaching 11 minutes right now. But it's great to see the crew in orbit. Of course, we are waiting for that separation. You can see this view right here of the MVAC engine. The second stage really in just an idle position, really just coasting, not many commands being issued from the Falcon 9. But of course, at the very end, we'll actually issue the command for separating the Dragon from the Falcon 9. You'll see a series, you may see a series of burns. The Draco engines on the service section of the Draco will fire and increase separation distance from the second stage.
Once again, live view there from the second stage looking up into the trunk, which of course is the unpressurized section that goes along with the Dragon capsule to the International Space Station. That's where we are able to store basically cargo that is able to be exposed to the vacuum of space. So a great view there looking up into the trunk. That will be hopefully the first views that we get of that separation event, which we're expecting here any second. There you can see on your screen confirmation.
Dragon separation confirmed.
Of that separation confirmed. Dragon Endeavour is now floating free in space.
That's right, the Falcon
Dragon
9.
CE here. Welcome to orbit. Congratulations. Your flight is exactly 4 years after the flight of the Demo 1 mission. Like Andre said, all the best things take 2 tries. Happy that we could get you off tonight. If you enjoyed your ride, please don't forget to give us 5 stars. Over to LD for some words.
Also, a friendly reminder to put your sushi orders in for CRS 27. Have a safe ride to the space station, and we look forward to seeing you when you get home. Thank you for flying SpaceX.
Expected loss of signal, Bermuda.
And SpaceX Dragon copies all. That was fantastic. Thank you.
The Crew 6 astronauts, of course, having a strong bond.
And SpaceX Dragon, we'd like to really, for the great ride to orbit today. It was greatly appreciated. May have taken 2 rides, but 2 times, but it was worth the trip. And I guess I'll pass it over to Woody for some words.
Yeah, SpaceX Dragon, just want to say as a rookie flyer, that was one heck of a ride. Thank you. I would say put it as an absolute miracle of engineering, and I just feel so lucky that I get to fly on this amazing machine. Thanks to SpaceX, thanks to NASA, Commercial Crew Program, and our international partners. A lot of innovation went into this, tireless work out there, and a lot of painstaking attention to detail and focus on testing. And I think that's what makes it all possible to fly humans in space. Thank you.